terms of why I'm also the best candidate for Attorney General, Equality California, which is an advocate for the rights of gays, lesbians, and transgenders, I'm 100% vote on those issues of civil rights for all people. On consumer protection, CalPERS, if you're familiar with it, I'm 100% on the CalPERS vote. On the environment, I'm 100% from California League of Conservation voters. On the issues of labor, I am the only candidate who is running who in 2008 has a 100% voting record on the labor scorecard for the AFL-CIO. There are two of my colleagues are legislators. They don't have 100% because there were some labor issues that they voted differently from what I consider to be important labor interests. When I was in Fresno, I was responsible for what's called the Targeted Narcotics Program. Fresno was a target-rich environment for narcotics. It's in the center. First of all, it's in the center of the state. So you get psychedelics and LSD and the rest of it from Northern California traveling down to the south, and they switch in Fresno. And then you get black tar, heroin, and cocaine from the southern part of the state traveling north, and they meet in Fresno. Highway 99 and Jensen at the truck stop. Targeted narcotics meant that I was responsible for the search warrant, the arrest warrant, the preliminary hearing, the trial, and the sentencing. One deputy responsible for one crook, starting from the very beginning all the way through, until they went away to prison by life. The other part of the program that I managed was called asset forfeiture. You take the toys from the boys. So if you made money from a criminal enterprise, and you have no other means of support, I mean, how is it that you own that SUV? How did you manage to buy the boat and the car and the motorcycle? And so we would separate those things from the people who had purchased them with drug proceeds. And the call that I still remember and that showed me the program was working was a criminal defense attorney in Fresno, last name was Carter, who called me up. And he goes, Nava, he says, I'm thinking about representing so-and-so. I said, okay. He said, but what I want to know is, you know that grocery bag full of cash that you found in the closet? I go, yeah. Do you intend to keep that? And I said, yeah. And he says, well, I guess he needs a new lawyer, and he hung up. So that was, I spent four and a half years doing that kind of work. I left Fresno and I went to Santa Barbara. And when I went to Santa Barbara, I found myself doing consumer business law. So I was doing criminal prosecution in the Fresno office. I was doing civil litigation in the Santa Barbara office, representing consumers, enforcing ordinances, unfair and illegal business practices, so that we could level the playing field so that people who operate small business, our goal was everybody obey the rules, everybody plays on the same playing field. I left that after 2 years and I went into civil practice, and for about 15 years I represented nurses and hospitals in medical malpractice cases. During that period of time, a friend of mine who I met when I was working in Fresno became the speaker of the assembly. It was Cruz Bustamante. And Cruz called me up and he said, Pedro, I'm the speaker. And I said, yeah, I saw that in the paper. And he says, I can make appointments to boards and commissions. And I said, okay. Is there something you'd like to do? I said, well, I really don't know. And he's saying, well, you know, as a prosecutor, maybe criminal justice or prisons or whatever. And I said, look, I have no idea what's out there. Why don't you decide where you want me to go? And he goes, okay. So he called me back 2 weeks later. He says, I'm putting you on the Coastal Commission. I go, okay, what's that? I had no idea. Look, I was unfamiliar with the coast. I actually thought he said postal. You know, and I mailed letters. I've been to the post. I figured, okay, this I can handle. But he appointed me to the Coastal Commission, which I soon learned was this quasi-judicial, quasi-legislative, independent body, unique in the country, that had authority over 1,100 miles of California coastline. And what I brought to that experience as a coastal commissioner was a belief that the coast belongs to everybody. That if you pollute on the coast, you're polluting everybody. If you cut off access to the coast, you're denying access to everybody. And so for the time that I was there, for 8 years, first by Bustamante, and then reappointed 3 times by John Burton, that was, I just followed the law. It was a The law told me what it is that I needed to do to protect people's rights. And for the time that I was there, I had the highest environmental protection vote of any member of the California Coastal Commission. I was always, except for the first year, I was number 2. I apologize. But the rest of the time, I was number 1. Each and every year that I was there. On the offshore oil battle, I've led the fight in the Assembly to protect us from new offshore oil drilling. I understand the issues about energy independence, but we can do the same onshore oil without the risk of polluting our environment on offshore oil. I also authored legislation that eliminated the use of lead ammunition in what we call condor country. California condors are endangered, they're scavengers, they don't know how to kill anything, they can only eat stuff that's dead. And they were being poisoned by the shards of ammunition that was left in what they call the gut piles. Because if you're a hunter and you're out there and you shoot a deer, the last thing you want to do is drag that whole deer back to your truck. So what they often do is field gut the animal and leave the entrails. Some hunters bury them, but if it's hard soil, you don't. And the condors then eat the entrails, and they're actually poisoned. The lead disorients them, and it also shuts down their digestive system. So I wrote a bill, took 3 years to get it done. The NRA hated me. They accused me of trying to take everybody's guns, which was that last thing that I ever had any interest in doing. We finally got the bill signed, and it became law, and so now we've eliminated lead ammunition in condor country. A little inside story about that. When my office was putting together the packages to hand out to other legislators, I said, let me see that. So I looked at it, and I had a map of condor country. And I said, you take that map out of each and every one of these packages. You know how big condor country is? It stretches from Monterey to Los Angeles and inland to the San Joaquin. It's 10 million acres of California land. It is 20% of the state of California. No one had ever asked me, how big is condor country? Because nobody really understood the range of the condor. Those magnificent creatures. And so I don't think I could have gotten the bill passed if people really understood how big it was. Yeah.
Is there's an ammunition that's digestible then?
No, what it is, it's copper. The copper ammunition doesn't fragment. The copper ammunition will mushroom. So it'll hit the body of the animal and then mushroom, and the birds don't eat the copper ammo because they look like little mushrooms. They're too big, about as big as your thumb, that roll over. The lead was wrong. The lead was dangerous because it fractures, just like a sheet of glass, tiny shards, and then the condors would eat the meat and then ingest the lead. So I would just respectfully ask you to take a look at the website. I didn't bring contribution envelopes because I think if people want to contribute, they can go to the website, pedronava.com. They can read some more information about my background, take a look at the legislation, the press releases, the work that we've done. And then if you're convinced that you think I'm the best candidate for Attorney General to represent the people of California, then you can sign on there and you can make whatever contribution you choose to make. My belief is it's the Department of Justice. We talk often about the Attorney General, and of course that's important. The Attorney General is the top for the state of California and has the ability to enforce actions across all areas of interest that affect people in the state of California. But it is really about the Department of Justice, and it is to see that justice is done. When there are unfair labor practices that are harming workers who are trying to preserve and protect their rights to unionize and to speak as organized workers, then the Attorney General can be a part of that. The Attorney General can assist in law enforcement, liaison with local law enforcement, provide resources they don't have, particularly in these times when there are budget cuts and departments are losing personnel. You have special agents in the Attorney General's office, 1,000 lawyers in the agent's office. We do criminal and we do civil work. It touches upon every aspect of your life. And it's important to have someone who I think understands how important civil rights are, who understands how important it is to have protection for workers and the environment, and for all of the things that we desperately care about. Privacy, confidentiality, financial transactions, consumer protection. Thank you.